Hello and Happy New Year. This is Dr. Donna G MD, your Gyne Guru, and I have a new show for you. It's an old theme, but it's a new show. We're now talking about not your granny's menopause. This is our show about menopause. Pre-menopause, perimenopause, during menopause, post-menopause. What's happening with women in menopause? What's happening after menopause? What's happening at the same time as menopause? Ooh, I tell you, Granny didn't warn us about what was coming. Because we may not be ready for menopause, but I assure you, menopause is ready for you. So what are you going to do about it? I'm Dr. Donna G MD, your Gyne Guru, and this is the Not Your Granny's Menopause Show, where we're going to explore the change and remind you that you get no points for suffering. Hello and welcome to 2026. This is Not Your Granny's Menopause, the show. You know, I have a book on menopause called Not Your Granny's Menopause. And let's double down on talking about menopause with a show dedicated exclusively to menopause and the things associated with what's going on before, during, after, and adjacent to menopause. You know, it's the beginning of the year and there's so much talk about resolutions, talk about what's going on with your words, what are your words of intention, have you done your vision board, all of those things. I even like the concept of a bingo card. I'm going to do a bingo card this year, and I'm going to encourage us to start talking about what's going to be our bingo card when it comes to life and menopause this year, because this is about change. The new year is about change. Menopause is about change. Lord knows the world is in the middle of upheaval and change. And so let's jump on the bandwagon and be a part of that. When we talk about our words for this year, our intentions for this year, for this show, I want us to go with understanding and intention. That we're going to spend the time, that I'm going to spend the time making sure you understand menopause, making sure you are intentional about what you do and how you negotiate this change. And those things are very simple. They're very straightforward, but that's what I want to bring to the table. I know I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. There's so many reasons for us to be thankful, to be grateful, to get into menopause. We survived childbirth. We survived being born. We survived childhood. We survived adolescence. We survived early adulthood. The majority of us survived childbirth. And now we have the privilege of being at midlife. And this is very definitively midlife. We hear so much about women not understanding what menopause is all about. The notion that, oh my God, nobody prepared us. And then the notion of being overwhelmed and fearful for two reasons. One, because we didn't realize this was going to happen not at old age, but at middle age. We're not prepared for it to happen when it happens because we still believe menopause is a condition of being old. And it is not. It is a condition of ending fertility. And nowadays that is occurring at midlife. We can expect to have 30 to 40 more years of healthy, active life after our fertility ends. And that's incredible. Think about that. On average, women have a 40-year period of fertility. So the average age of puberty in the US is 12. The average age of menopause is 51. That's about 40 years. And now we're looking at 40 years of life after menopause. And no one has written that story yet. We get to write that story. That's a new realization for so many women and for a generation of women to expect to have a whole new life after fertility. And that's a beautiful thing. We're going to focus on that and talk about that. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about that because we're going to spend a lot of time defining what that's going to mean. That's going to mean a great opportunity for women to thrive, a great opportunity for women to be focused on the things that they feel are the important aspects of life. It is a wonderful opportunity to get out from under this notion that as women, you are responsible for everyone else's happiness, satisfaction, intact home, meals, health care, literally everything about life for everyone else. You need to become the top of your priority list. And you need to start putting some boundaries on what part of life you're going to be burdened with or responsible for compared to your husband, compared to your children, compared to other members of your family, compared to other people in your church or your religious organization or your civic organization or your job. We're going to talk about menopause because it's a wonderful opportunity for change. Changing how you prioritize what's going on in life, how you prioritize what you're going to do in life. I think that's just so important. It's such a great opportunity. Menopause is women's built-in midlife crisis. Let's take advantage of that. Let's not let it roll over us and control us and take advantage of us. Let's take advantage of that as an opportunity. That's the approach I always take with menopause. Everything is in an upheaval right now. The healthcare system is on its last leg in the US, and that's just the truth. I don't know how we're going to continue the way we're continuing because the money is going everywhere but to the people providing the care. The people providing the care aren't in a position where the system enhances the ability to provide care because there's a lot of profit taking on that end. There are not enough providers in the system. The system was set up in a time where gender roles and racial roles were fixed, and all that's gone away. And so we need to rethink how the system rethink how the system works. Rethink how roles in the system are modernized and enhancing sick care. We need to talk about how we're going to deal with well care, preventing disease, addressing disease at the very, very early stages, and addressing it from ways that include nutrition. What are our food choices? What supplementation is available to enhance our wellness? What limited medications and or treatments and or procedures can be done on an outpatient basis to, again, enhance our health and not just wait until people are sick and then we manage chronic illness. How do we make those changes? We're going to talk about that. We talk about that so that you know how to manage the system, so that you know how to maneuver a system that is struggling, and maneuver in a way that is to your advantage, not your disadvantage. So much about menopause is turning into really a medical affair, and menopause is a natural physiologic process. I think it makes all the sense in the world to be in a position to not require medical intervention to manage symptoms. And yet, moderate to severe symptoms, you should not be suffering. You shouldn't be suffering one way or the other. But self-help options can do wonders for minimal to mild symptoms. Moderate to severe and certainly extreme symptoms need to be seen and addressed. And there are so many ways to do that safely, quickly, and effectively. And it's so important that you not be afraid of intervention if you need it. I think that's the key. Yes, I'm a menopause expert. If I had only one tool in my tool belt, it would be hormones. There is nothing more effective. There is nothing that works more quickly. I have the ability to prescribe in a way that I can customize a dose of hormones for each individual patient. And so if I had one tool in my tool belt, it would be hormones. But no, number one, not everyone is a candidate for hormones. Some people will be harmed by using hormones, and you need to know what that is. Each hormone has its own set of benefits as well as its own set of side effects, and that is important to know. The notion that everyone needs the same thing is not accurate. If we only have one way to give hormones, you don't really need a whole physician level education to figure that out. One of the things that I do is I teach physicians how to manage menopause, because there are details that are important. You as an individual should expect to be in a position where when you need help, the approach to helping you is consistent with the kind of things that you want to explore for yourself. If you don't want hormones and you want to do something herbal or, supplement wise, that's something that should be respected and encouraged. And you given good information to understand when do you know if that's working for you. That you're given good information about, are you also addressing the kind of things that we know happen in the long run after menopause and years and decades of low hormone levels. And yet those discussions aren't designed to scare you into hormones. They're designed simply to put on the table what your risk factors are for those type of things. So for example, we hear so much about dementia now. Everybody is freaking out about the notion of dementia after menopause, and therefore we need to be on hormones. Well, there are a number of reasons that dementia is a concern when it comes to causes of death, but dementia does not become a concern with regard to causes of death until women are in their 80s. You're tuned in to the Not Your Granny's Menopause Show. I'm Dr. Donna G MD. Let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back shortly. I thank you so much for joining me in this radio venture, because I want you to have information. I want you to feel good about women's functions, like periods, like pregnancies, like menopause, all of those things. I also want to hear from you. And one of the easiest ways to hear from you is if you go to my Instagram account, Dr. Donna G MD, DRDONNA GMD, Follow me there and feel free to DM me with information about what you'd like to hear on this radio show. We are going to do some live events on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, but in the meantime, I need to get feedback from you. So let me know on Instagram at Dr Donna G MD what it is you'd like to hear. Let me know what you appreciate hearing about. You can even let me know what you disagreed with. I just want to hear from you. Okay, welcome back. This is Dr. Donna G MD, and you're tuned in to the Not Your Granny's Menopause Show. Now let's pick up where we left off, talking about the risk of dying from dementia and the groups of women in the U.S. that are at risk for that. And there's a definite subset of women. I say a subset. The majority of women in America are white, and that is a specific concern in terms of causes of death in elderly women. Dementia is real. It is very real, specifically in that population. And so you hear a lot about it because that's a majority of the population. But there are other populations where that is not such a significant risk. We talk about stroke. When we talk about African American women, stroke is a major concern when it comes to risk of death starting in our 60s. And so that has to be taken into account. We can't make light of stroke risk because hormones can have an impact on that. There are herbals and supplements that can have an impact on that, good or bad. And we need to be on top of that. When we talk about cardiovascular disease is a significant killer of Americans. But let's be honest, it's not the number one killer of women until women get to be 75 across the board in the U.S. Cancer is the number one killer until we reach 75. We don't talk enough about that. How do we talk about your cancer risks? Your cancer risks are important. There's so much information in terms of learning how to predict some cancer risks, getting the information like your family history so we can talk about cancer risks, talking about other aspects as well as genetic testing for cancer genes. Those things are all on the table, and we'll talk about details of that. We'll do detailed episodes with that because you need to know these things. You don't have to guess in terms of what direction to go in when it comes to what are you going to do for menopause. You don't have to guess about that. I don't want you to spend time fixated on some of the things that you're hearing or seeing on the internet that are designed to share one person's experience that was bad, and therefore they want everybody to know not to do this, versus the marketing that is designed to scare you into believing that you should go in X direction versus Y direction, versus having a realistic understanding and expectation of what your risks are, what different things can do to help you, and how are you going to go through menopause and minimize the impact of those symptoms on your everyday life in the short term and minimize your risk of problems in the long term. That's what it's all about. We're going to add midlife concerns because, again, the average age of menopause, which is the last menstrual period, is 51 in the U.S. That's also what we call middle age. And there are other hormone systems that have declined over the years, and then some of those levels are now also symptomatic, and yet they're not associated with reproductive hormones. We talk about a 30 or 40 year history of bad eating, bad habits, and then what is happening once reproductive hormones go away and our inflammatory system gets activated in an environment that was already inflammatory. We'll talk about that because you would be surprised at the impact of addressing inflammation is going to have on your general health and wellness before, during, and after menopause. There are real aspects of that need to be addressed. We'll talk about the kind of prescription medications that are not hormonal, that are real good tools, effective tools, cost-effective tools, and readily available tools for menopausal symptoms. There are a number of TikToks and reels and whatnot that I've seen where women are so angry that their doctor gave them an antidepressant when they were talking about menopausal symptoms. And yet, depending on what was given and really depending on how it was given, it may have been the right choice. If your only concern is hot flashes and you're having mood changes, you would be floored at what some prescription medications can do for you. There are newer medications out that are not antidepressants and not hormones that can also be helpful. Your physician should have multiple tools in their tool belt. Many don't, and that's my mission and goal, is to help teach physicians how to manage menopause, to help them understand what the additional tools are that are available for them to use and how to use them, how to present them, how to have the discussions of presenting information, how to have discussions with you, the individual patient, so that everybody's on the same page about how menopause is going to be managed. All those things are important. And so that's the intention for this new show, Not Your Granny's Menopause, for 2026. When we get to the end of the year, when we get to the recap, your understanding of menopause is going to be so much better. And your intentions to have a better life, to have a fulfilling life, to have a great life unimpeded by menopausal symptoms will have been manifested. I am so looking forward to this year. I want your feedback. When we have live opportunities, join in. Follow me on social media aspects like Instagram, TikTok, and especially YouTube. You can even follow me on LinkedIn. Don't hesitate to DM to give me your feedback, your requests for episodes, and your concerns. We're going to have a fabulous year. No matter what the TV and the news cycle says, we're going to have a fabulous year. It's a year of change. But then again, that's what menopause is all about. This is Dr. Donna G MD, your Gyne Guru. And this is a show, Not Your Granny's Menopause. Let's have a great year, ladies. We'll see you next week. You know, Granny didn't talk about menopause because a lady simply didn't speak about these things in public. But this is not your Granny's menopause. I'm Dr. Donna G MD, your Gyne Guru. And tune in each week here on caneradio.com and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Dr. Donna G MD, DRDONNA GMD. I'll talk about these things. One of the things I want you to remember is that menopause is not the beginning of old age. It's the beginning of our best age. Bye-bye.